one of the co-managers of the C3 community. The C3 community on LinkedIn is a corporate consciousness co-op. We are a group of conscious leaders who are committed to co-creating a more conscious corporate landscape. And we have these live events every month to cover various topics around conscious leadership. And our topic today, I'd say, isn't just exclusive to conscious leadership, especially in the corporate arena. It's really about consciousness in general, consciousness in your life, consciousness in your careering. We're going to be talking about purpose and meaning at work, and I expect we'll probably also dig into purpose and meaning outside of work as well. And we have more panelists than we've ever had before, which is very exciting. It's really interesting to me how I started to reimagine and recreate a journal that I created and published in 2016 which was dedicated to purpose. It was laser sharp, career focus, find your purpose and passion in 30 days. And 30 days is a pretty fast timeline to find your purpose and passion, honestly. Sometimes it takes a little longer. And I really just wanted something that people could just dive into and put more quality than short quantity into their purpose journey. And at the same time as I was working on this, I noticed that there were other people in C3 and out of C3 who were focusing on purpose. I saw that Steve did an event with somebody who's been a panelist and somebody who's been here before, who's talked about psychological safety. And she was also a panelist for something else. But when I saw his name, I was like, I'm going to reach out to him because it was just interesting how we were all doing it. I saw Ira post a 5-day challenge. I saw Ange post. I saw Amy post. And it's like this message from the collective that we should be focusing on purpose right now. I don't know. I think we all share a mission besides conscious leadership, which is just helping people live a conscious life. And I'd like to give each of them now a chance to share what brought purpose into their focus with their business and offerings. And I'm going to start with Ange.
Hi, everybody. So, Karen, so glad to be here today. You and I go way back on kind of this mission and the work that we do. So I'm really excited to be part of this today. So basically my journey, I've been close to 3 decades in executive search and leadership development. But I also have a clinical background. So today I like to call myself kind of fun, but I call myself kind of a corporate hippie. So I like to combine psychology, spiritual intelligence with business, working with executives and leaders and helping them really go deeper into their self-leadership, right? So that they can transform into conscious leaders. But really what that means to me and how I've expanded that in the work that I do is it really does start with that self-leadership. And so I do that in a number of ways, and with one-on-one with leaders. I do it through a partner company of mine called Boss Maker. And what we do there is we work with executives, particularly leaders, executive women, and we help them as they're beginning to find really what is that purpose in their work. Many of them have been doing this for many years, but are at a pivotal point in their life and career and say, I really need to do something more purposeful. And a lot of times the only way to really get there is to kind of go inward. And we're often not taught that we can do that in our careers. And so I like to combine both of them together and working with groups, organizations, individuals. And it's super meaningful and really relevant, I think, to where we are in the world today and really to this topic and all your efforts in creating C3. So
I agree. It's so funny how our paths have kind of gone like this
for years.
I know. Very cool. Thanks, Ange. All right, Ira.
Hey, thanks. And really appreciate the opportunity, and especially being with everybody else here. Yeah, my journey, similar to Ange and yours, Karen, and probably everybody else's, has not been the traditional vertical career path. I started, my purpose when I was young and through college, graduate school. My first career I was a dentist. My purpose was to be a dentist, and it was like, why did you want to be a dentist? To help people, and that was the broad sense. And wrote my papers and my admission papers, and that was the contribution to realize that really wasn't my purpose. I didn't enjoy doing it. I did my TED Talk, and this wasn't the title, but I said in the TED Talk, I was about dentistry for dentistry. I loved working with the people. I loved being part of the community. I loved the marketing, the leadership, the customer service. I just didn't enjoy the task. So I left that 30 years ago this year. And started another business, and I ended up in HR. And basically, I was helping employers find employees who had the right fit. But I still wasn't literally talking about purpose. I was talking about job skills and attitudes and values. And that journey evolved, and I sold that business about 2 years ago. I'm still involved with it, but new owners. But along the way, we hit the 2020. I've talked about change for years, for literally decades. I've been talking about what the world was going to be like and change, but never really talked about purpose. We never really talked about that. We talked about careers and skills, and the pandemic hit. And at that time, I was introduced to a new group, and we started to talk about the urgency of adaptability. And the lining with adaptability is realize that the only way we're going to get people to change is if they feel aligned with what their values were. And the pandemic forced a lot of people to take a step back and look what their life was going, what their career paths were going, what was important to them, what was meaningful to them. We also have had a labor shortage, which I've been talking about for 30 years as well. And labor shortages just put the crunch on employers to finally step up to the plate and say, you know what, Matt, we need to help people feel like they matter. Significance, create safe spaces, and we gave a lot of lip service for it for 30 years. So it's been an evolution for me and a journey for me to figure out purpose. And you started out, Karen, saying 30-day challenge or 30 days to figure out your purpose. I'm a 40-year plus novice at it, still trying to figure it out. But I figured from what I learned, and I may just be one step ahead of others. Willing to share that. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thanks, Sarah. I had a feeling 2020 was going to come up any minute now. It was definitely a noticeable impetus of a shift in people's thinking, and when they had time to actually sit and reflect, right? Like now they have no job to go to, what to think about, except, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with myself? And I think that there's the lifetime purpose, and it's going to change over time. It's going to evolve over time. It's even maybe going to evolve day to day, hour to hour. Your last year was a year of getting through hard times. That was my purpose. And once I came out of the hard times, then I'm like back to my purpose, right? So I know that there are some folks out there who may not feel like fulfilling your purpose is your thing. And you know what? It might not be. Sometimes you just have to get through, and that is your purpose. So I just want to give people permission to not always have an ambitious purpose. But I think that we'll all talk about why we feel like having a higher purpose is an important ingredient to have in your life. And I'm going to next go to Amy and allow her to introduce herself and talk about how she arrived at purpose as a focus.
Purpose. Thanks so much, Karen. It's so good to be back on here again with C3. I think for me, my path to purpose is one that a lot of people may have experienced, and that's through personal crisis. So I have had a long career in technology, went to school for engineering in computers, and then moved into executive leadership. On the outside, it looked like I had a great life, married, kids, house, all of that. But on the inside, I was dealing with really extreme anxiety that was a result of unresolved childhood trauma. So in my search, and of course, when I had that, I'm like, everything is wrong with my life. Everything's wrong out there. And so I started a search to see how can I get my life on track? I want to be happy. So that's when I had my awakening to the fullness of who we are and the fact that we are all here for a reason. And I had a specific reason for being here. So I went on that journey to discover that for myself. And part of discovering that, I realized, which I knew when I was a very small child, I think purpose sometimes comes back to our very, very early childhood days and who we were. But part of my purpose is to help other people realize that same, their magnificence and who they are authentically and why they're here. And so I bring that into my coaching. I do still do consulting in the corporate world, in the tech space, and I try to bring that into my leadership as well, especially with the people working for me, directly for me, and helping them to discover even their why they're at work every day, and helping them to bring that satisfaction. So it's been quite a journey, a lot of realizing that everything that I thought was out there really started within here first. So.
And that's exactly what we say in conscious leadership. It all starts with self-assessment and self-awareness and self-reflection. So thank you for sharing your journey with us. And I can't wait to hear how that has developed into other things that you offer today around that. Steve, thanks for joining us. This is your first time in the C3 community, and I welcome you and I thank you for joining, and I look forward to getting to know you and what you offer. Tell us more about how you have a very systematized, operationalized approach to purpose, and you're working in the corporate space. Tell us more about that and how you arrived there.
Yeah, thank you, Karen, and it's great to be part of this group as the rookie here, and just to even hear how you arrived at your interest in the subject is so cool. And we all get there differently, don't we? So that's part of it. Unique individuals. So I'm the founder of Culturology, and I think I first became enamored with the idea of purpose and meaning when I was leading the culture at QVC. And I could see how the difference between leaders who really were able to clarify the purpose of their work, not just like, if we get this goal done, here's what it does, but make it mean something to people deeply and intrinsically inside of them. And it really solved for the whole engagement enigma. I mean, that was our competitive edge, to have engaged employees. And I could see that if you could amplify purpose for people, it gave them meaning. And that was the emotional response it connected. So I set off on my own with Culturology to really explore this deeper. I collaborated with Teresa Amabile, the head of research at Harvard Business School, on the progress principle, which talks about making progress in meaningful work. And I wanted to unlock that whole piece of it. So that really started about 12 years ago. And I ended up writing a book called The Search for Meaning at Work, where I take the insights from the progress principle and connect it to what might we do as individuals or leaders to give people a clear sense of purpose so that it amplifies meaning for them. And the good news is, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, but if you multitask purpose, you're in a good space. Usually we think of the ethereal, transcendent purpose, which is certainly a type of purpose. And yet, as managers, leaders, family members, parents, if we break it down to like even the transactional purpose of what people can do, it's highly motivating. So that's what I'm doing now, is out teaching in the corporate environment of how to sort of scale this idea of being more purposeful from the inside. And ironically, the way you scale it is to individualize it. So we'll get into that, I'm sure, but it's really deeply fulfilling work.
So already, we're only a few minutes into this, and already we all agree, like, it starts inside, right? It starts inside. It starts with the individual, even at a greater organizational scale. So thank everybody for coming. We did have a little bit of a false start and then a late start, and I apologize about that. If you're here watching live, I encourage you to make comments. We'll all discuss them. There's a lot of panelists today, so what I'm going to do is just kind of throw out some questions and give everybody a turn who wants a turn to answer them, and to talk about their products and their services. And we do want to let you know that a lot of the panelists here do have some specials for you that we'll offer at the end. So stay tuned until then, because if you're somebody who is looking for purpose and meaning in their work or their lives, all of the panelists here have some really great offerings and things to talk about, whether now or coming up in the future. So we might as well parlay off of what Steve just said in terms of the different kinds of purpose, right? Some people think of purpose as like a divine purpose, like there's a reason why I'm here, why I'm living, why I'm in this time, why I've had these experiences, all leading to something that is divine, higher, and that is, that is aligned with beliefs. And then so other people might feel like, oh, that's for other people if you don't align with those beliefs. But there's, as Steve said, various kinds of purposes that you can apply. And I know that he's identified a couple of them there. Anybody want to jump in with how purpose can look different and how it might be called differently? Go ahead, Ira.
I'll start. Yeah, I mean, I think you're dead on. Certainly I think when people talk about a purpose, it's this higher purpose. And, maybe the reason that it's a struggle for, someone who's just getting, living day by day, paycheck to paycheck, their purpose, maybe we've categorized it or framed it as too big. I'm teaching an innovation and entrepreneur class right now to undergrads, and you talk about innovation, and it's an iPhone, it's Elon Musk, it's SpaceLink, it's Neuralink, it's these grand innovations, or entrepreneurs. What's it take to be an entrepreneur? And they equate themselves with Steve Jobs, and yet you can be an innovator, just by improving. You can be a parent and be an innovator, doing certain things. You can really take it down. So I think, we've done injustice, or maybe others have done injustice, and we just fell on the bandwagon for years talking about purpose, that it's this grand spiritual experience, when it merely could be, it's okay to say, what's your purpose in life? That you want to, be a good parent. You want to be a good citizen. And that's sometimes, we almost embarrass people. That's not noble enough of a cause. There's got to be something bigger. And maybe for them, it doesn't.
That's true. That's true. Ange, you wanted to hop in there, so I'll let you do that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a great question, and I can just share one insight into, I think that the idea of purpose is so big. It's so multifaceted, right? I think you can put 100 people in a room and they'll give you a different definition of what purpose is, let alone what it is for them, right? So, one area that I'm really honed in on as of late is really working with, as I said, kind of the corporate leader population. And one of the programs that I do is something that I call, communicating their superpowers, right? And really, I've termed that your market dominating position, which is a marketing term, but it's like I work with people to go deep into figuring out and really owning what are their unique abilities first, so they can step into that. And it's interesting how much of that does go way back to childhood, because the things that kind of made a lot of us unique has gotten like pushed down in time through life, through society, through the corporate engine, all of that. And so one of the things that I see a lot right now is the real confusion that a lot of people come and say, I'm feeling the need that I want to do something purposeful. But what's coming up, particularly if I look at that target market of, corporate leaders, is many of us have gotten sucked into sort of this is what the corporate engine and our career trajectory has told us our purpose. If I'm in finance, or if I'm in this, my purpose is kind of that, right? So there is a bigger overarching piece of this personally, but I'm working with a lot of people that say, I'm kind of stuck. I want to do something over here in the arts, but I feel like my purpose, because this is where I've made my income. This is where I've taken care of my family. This is where I've, made acknowledgments and strides in life. And we're working to deconstruct that and say, what is, let's go back and tap into those unique abilities. What was born in you? What's innate inside of you? Because I think there's an onus on trying to have that true north and say, this is my purpose, or it needs to be purposeful so I can own that and look like I know what I'm doing. And I take people through a process to say, let's go back to the very beginning. What resonates with you? What is heart-centered? And what does that look like? And then we kind of do the building process of, does that tie in to your unique abilities? Where else can your unique abilities be valuable? and then it starts to crystallize. So, it's just one microcosm of this, but it's been very powerful and very impactful. And I've worked recently with CEOs and COOs and down to director levels that are moving in their career, have completely reshifted their focus based on this new version of what they've defined as their purpose, not what their purpose has kind of been directed at them, if that makes sense.
It does. And I want to just bookmark this topic, a couple of topics that came out of that for later after Amy also tackles this question. The idea of purpose tied to income, right? And the idea that purpose is always going higher, always going higher. So Amy, how about for you?
Yeah, I think going back to the purpose as some divine thing or whatever, I think it's hard for people to really grasp that or understand it if they don't have a full understanding of who they truly are, like their fullness of being, that they're not just a person, a mind and a body walking around, but they do have a spiritual side. And I think also to look at purpose as not necessarily something that you do, but purpose is something that you become or you embody and you express. So for me, my purpose is to express love in whatever way I can. Where am I bringing love? The energy of love. Where am I bringing that into everything I do, and where am I not? And when I do that, I can separate what I'm doing for work, what I'm doing outside of work, and all of that. I can separate my job from my purpose because I can embody that higher self, that love in whatever I do. And that's a very big challenge to do.
I'm sure, but it's nice to have that one thing that you always go back to in moments of, feeling disconnected, to just be like, right, my purpose, right? Steve, since you're the person who first started to mention a couple of different types of purpose, I'm going to let you talk about the different types of purpose you've identified.
Yeah, and I love the fact that, Amy mentioned having the purpose of giving love. See how simple and clean that filter would be to be able to know if you're on the right track. It's like an airplane coming into Philadelphia International, it's 50 miles out, it gets on the glide path. And so if you know that about yourself, that transcendent idea of what you're becoming, what you want to become, then you can always know that your little dials in their cockpit are sort of going off, whether you're on the glide path and doing that, fulfilling that, making progress toward that or not. So the three types of, so transcendent, I think, is what Amy just described there, sort of that is sort of a divine idea. It's in the cosmos, it's in the galaxy. It's how I want to create a legacy for my family, to honor God with my life, to give back in a way that makes people's lives different. The level down from that, which is a wonderful opportunity in business, because when you think about people talking about purpose in business, leaders go, yeah, we will need to be more purposeful. I keep seeing these statistics and they go, how am I going to talk about people giving love? Like that's too big. They can't get their arms around it. And they go, I can't touch this, or it's too personal. And that's okay, because the next level down is the transformative component. These are the gigantic goals that we want to set for ourselves. Maybe you want to learn a second language. Maybe the objective is to build a vacation house so you can spend time with your family. Maybe it's to get a promotion or to use your skills in a unique and different way to write a book. So those are transformative. And then the next level down, which there's many, many of on a daily basis, you think about it, is transactional. I have a transactional purpose in being on this call. I'll connect with Amy. I want to spread the love here on this little subject. That's my transactional purpose for the next 40 minutes or whatever. So at the end of this, I'll know whether I achieved that, or the way I'm feeling in the engagement here will give me a sense of meaning or not, to know if I'm on that glide path. So the more I hope that makes sense. So 3 levels. And so if you think about this from the business application, you don't have to necessarily play in the transcendent space. That's good for everyone to understand and reflect upon themselves, which we're doing a poor job of doing. We're so busy. But the other 2 levels are where the motivation, the engagement comes in. So.
Thank you. Thank you for that distinction between the 3 different kinds of purpose. I'm going to tie back now to tying purpose to income, because that's kind of the space that that brought me into my focus on purpose. As a career coach, there are a lot of things that I recognized early on in my process, and that was just, where is my level of satisfaction? Is my level of satisfaction of what I'm doing tied to somebody just getting a new job, getting a raise, getting a higher status, a better recognition? And and my purpose was tied to that. But what I recognized over time, as I evolved, as even some of my clients have grown with me, is that there's a difference between working towards something that has a material type of reward, and working towards something that is that allows you to make the impact that you want. And the want could be something that's just in your heart. It could be something that is just, you've recognized this is a gift. There's different ways that you might be able to recognize these things if you have the time and some of the tools, which some of us offer, to look inward, ask the right questions, right? So my journey to helping other people find their purpose just came from wanting to reverse engineer. If you look at a fulfilled, happy life, how do we get back to the first start of that? And to build a suite of products and an all-in-one, end-to-end type of system that could help people go from just identifying, as Ange was saying, skills, talents, going back to the beginning. Because as Ange has found, I have also found that a lot of my clients go through their careers and they have certain skills that enable them to climb the corporate ladder, but they're still not maybe applying some of their talents and qualities. They're not able to, as we say, bring their whole selves to work. There's still some hidden talents, hidden things that have been underdeveloped or underdiscovered in their lives. And to really kind of, in order to get a comprehensive idea of who this person is and all that they can offer, we have to look outside of just the professional realm into personal realms and childhood dreams. Because raise your hand if you had a childhood dream that you just let go of because somebody gave you some kind of rational idea that it was unobtainable or unrealistic, or that it wasn't going to produce enough income for you. Let's talk about the barrier that income is to finding purpose for people. Who wants to jump in there for that side of it? Amy, go ahead.
Sorry, trying to unmute. Absolutely. People have, you touched on the childhood dreams and the limiting beliefs, and we all hear throughout our lives stories, I call them stories, that our parents and teachers and society tell us about who we are and what we can become. And they impact our life and they make us decide what we think is possible for us. And that's really why I went into technology in the first place, because I was told, in my head, I was like, well, what I really wanted to do, I couldn't make money at it. So I needed to do something where I could. And technology is absolutely a place where you can make a good income. So to get to purpose, one thing I do help my clients with is we do go back and examine all of those limiting beliefs through an energy process, both that people hold about themselves, who they think they are, the relationships that they have towards other people, how the world would see them. And we also focus on money, and we focus on transforming those limiting beliefs to ones of possibility, because to the point that if somebody's purpose is really to bring art into the world, I think there's a lot of people who would have limiting beliefs that say you can't make money doing art. So if we can get that belief shifted away to where people understand where their source of income truly comes from and through their passions and such, then they can accept that art is their purpose. So it's kind of a 3-step thing, where first getting rid of transforming the limiting beliefs you hold about yourself, and then about money. And then you can really accept and step into and embody your purpose. But until you, as long as you hold all of that within you, you're not going to see or accept the true possibilities that you have.
Great answer, Amy. you brought up so much there, like limiting beliefs. We could do a whole event on limiting beliefs alone, right? It's hard to recognize that how much they hold us back until we really take time to reflect on them. Ange was the one who unmuted, I think, before. So I'm going to let Ange go first, and then Steve, you're up after her.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just kind of just really piggybacking a lot of what Amy said. And I think it starts with the idea that, we consciously say this, the starving artist, right? I mean, so if you grow up with that and we say, well, anything related to your inner art, right? And I think I'm one of those people that thought, oh, I'm not an artist, a painter, I'm whatever. And the last several years has completely shifted my own paradigm, my own journey. We're getting involved with an organization called Artist Power and Artist Power Express, which is not what I thought it was. It's about finding the inner art inside of each one of us. And, my mentor always says that adults are just deteriorated children. And we really are, right? Because we have so much, we don't understand limiting beliefs. We don't have a limit on what we want to bring into the world. And then that happens, it layers on it. And so, again, I have a lot of perspectives on this, but if I just keep looking at the corporate space, I think the other income tied to purpose is so many people, and I see this even more so with, or maybe differently, but a lot with female leaders, right? It's that guilt, shame, judgment, fear of, if I step out of what I've been doing for so long and have secured income in to follow my purpose, then, could I be jeopardizing my family? Could I be jeopardizing the future? Could I be judged? Am I going to be made fun of? What's it going to do to my brand? It's all of these considerations, which for me all stem back to the inner stuff, right? So if we don't have good sense of self, and we the things that allow us to create those stories and create limiting beliefs, but it's also about, can you hold in a container inside yourself that if you did meet a major shift in your career or your life, people are going to question it. People are going to maybe secretly judge it. There's going to be fears and concerns. Do you have that support system around you to say, that's okay, that's going to happen? I'm still going to move forward. I'm still going to follow this purpose. But I think there's just so many of us that are limited, and really it comes down to fear and guilt and shame, and maybe childhood stuff of, children are seen and not heard. Do what you're supposed to do. Go to school, go to college, get a job in some safe career. And, it doesn't allow the fullest expression. So it's a really interesting thing. And I think a lot of people get hooked up in that starving artist mode versus just bring your art to life, and then the money will follow.
Good point. That's what we're here. That's what we do in C3 is we just create, right? We're co-creators. We're just going to jump in and create. Steve, you had some thoughts on this as well.
Yeah, I mean, just an idea perhaps, but I think for anybody who is wondering whether or not their purpose is going to help drive income for them or impact their revenue, do your own personal gut check on it and step back and think, how much does my purpose benefit other people? If it's all about me, chances are you are going to be the starving artist. If it's all about them, then you have unbelievable amount of runway here to go with it. The paradox of purpose and meaning that I believe in is that the most assured way to get meaning from this life is to give it away. In other words, to give meaning to other people as you're building relationships with each other. So if you want to help with the income equation, give purpose and meaning away to others, and certainly it'll come back to you. And the other thing that we're doing from a practical standpoint to unlock this in the corporate environment is we're having people share this with each other. In other words, if I work for Ira, he's my boss, and he says, he openly communicates to me what his purpose is, whether it's transcendent, transformative, or even once I get done today, as his worker, part of his team, I am going to want to satisfy that for him because that would give me purpose. And he wants to know that about me, hopefully, and see how it works. So that this is how we unlock it, by sharing with each other. Now, related to income, if him and I are doing this, there's almost a guarantee that we're performing. We are kicking ass, and we are getting things done. Right. So therefore, I should get a promotion quicker, faster than anybody else. So I think that's part of the way it works. But it's thinking about giving it away is sort of the thing that's maybe not obvious.
I love the idea that you can feed your own purpose by incorporating other people's purposes and have that be, volunteering is one thing that I tell job seekers to jump into, especially if they've been out of work for a long time, because number one, you go and you help somebody else and it reminds you how valuable you can be to other people. And that might spark how you want to be valuable to other people in other ways. That's a beautiful way of thinking about purpose, as being something that is created through synergy and helping other people. So I think that's a great next step for anybody who is lost and doesn't want to know. Talk to other people about their purpose and see if there's something that calls to you to want to co-create in that way. Ira, you're up.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump in. I've got another thought following up in this conversation, but just something that Steve said is that helping others find their purpose or contributing to other people's success is our purpose. And that may be, we work with a program based on the Simon Sinek's Golden Circle. And there's 9 whys that are identified. And one of those whys happens to be contribute, which is how I want to, or is why I want to, how I will measure my success is by helping others find a better way to challenge the status quo and be extraordinary. So the why is to help others. But there are other people that don't have that. Some people want to master, some people want to clarify, some people want to simplify. I can go down the whole 9. But basically, there's people that have different innate purposes that may not be to help other people. They may not get their joy and feel fulfilled with someone else's success. And they're all neutral. There's not a good purpose or a bad purpose. There could be evil purposes, but there's really, for normal behavior, there's really not a good or a bad. They just are, and they exist, and that's what makes the world go around. But going back to where we were with that conversation is, my logical brain kicks in rather than the creative brain and says, why does it have to be a binary choice? And I think people say, I can live my purpose and I can be that artist, but I can't make money. But maybe reframing it is, how can I be an artist and make a good living? And then it gets to be, as it's sequential, is that there are, you look at Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, you look at, these billionaires who have really sacrificed everything for 30 years and then, somewhat retire, but now they're all philanthropists and they're giving away billions of dollars helping other people. Was their purpose always that? Although Bill Gates's purpose was to ensure that there was a computer in everybody's hand, that everybody had equal access to all the knowledge, which is also what Google did. But then when they achieved that, or at least got that on an automatic path, is they then in turn were out to save the world, to make sure that everybody had an education, to eliminate poverty, to make sure we had clean water, the climate change. And so, I think it's, there's maybe a danger when you're 18 and 20 and 25 and saying, I'm going to leave my purpose and I'm living in the back of a car and I can't make money, that there is some responsibility you have to take care of himself. But if you know what your purpose is, or you're defining your purpose, then you have that North Star. And ultimately, the reason that you're working hard and sacrificing along the way is that at some point that you can give back.
Yeah, I think that you also don't necessarily have to think of all of your talents and skills as something that you have to make money through either. This doesn't come up very often in C3 or in my corporate life at all, but I'm actually a singer. And, I've loved to sing since I was little. And there was a time I was in a band, we had gigs every weekend, and it was a great time in my life. Some of my bandmates really wanted to get discovered. And unfortunately, when it actually happened for me, or not unfortunate at all, actually, I had an opportunity in my hands. And at that moment, I was actually finally thriving and making money and about to get married at the same time. And I just thought like this would totally throw my life off in a completely different trajectory that I don't think I want. This is fun. I love it. And when I don't do it, and I haven't done it in a while because we have 9 kids between us and none of them drive yet. So, when I don't do it for a long time, I feel like there's a piece of me missing. And maybe there's a way to integrate that into my future purpose at a future time. But you also don't necessarily, have to feel like this is a talent of mine, so it has to be tied to my purpose and I have to do that. But Ira, would you mind just going down those 9 stages as you said before? Oh, you're on mute still.
Yep. Yeah, if I can remember all 9. So I gave you 3 of them. So there is contribute, which is helping others, finding a better way, which is actually my house. So I help others through finding better ways to challenge the status quo. There is mastery, is another one. So some people just want to, be the experts. They want to be able to provide that. But then how they do it. So you could be a master in because you want to be the clarifier, but you can be a master because you want to help others. So you can be the teacher, or you can just be the leader. So there's clarify and there's simplify. There's trust is another. I think that's 8. I'm drawing a blank because I didn't go down the list in the right way. But if you go to adaptability.com or adaptabilitytoolkit.com, it's up on my site and they're all listed there. And it's very easy. There's a little survey that you can take and identify what your why, what your how, and what your what is.
Thank you. Do you want to drop that in the comments?
Yeah, I can do that. Sure.
Great.
Yep.
And then Amy, you had a comment you wanted to make.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to income and purpose in the corporate world. And when we look at Gallup's their state of the global workplace, where it's like 70% of employees are disengaged at work. So obviously people are not finding purpose within the corporate world. The majority of people are not. And we see a lot of people leaving the corporate world and going and starting their own businesses, becoming solopreneurs, starting coaching businesses and everything to look for that purpose and to try to have control over their incomes. Mm-hmm. So as we look at that and we talk about corporations, I think that companies have a huge opportunity in engaging and retaining employees by helping them get on their path to purpose and to bring it into their works, into the work within that corporation. I think that that's really challenging with the way the corporate world is structured a lot with the hierarchies and all of that. But, I think it's a huge opportunity for corporations to transform themselves.
Steve, I'm going to ask you to jump in here because, go for it. Go ahead and riff there.
Yeah, and it's shocking, isn't it, Amy? Like to see the scores go down for the 3rd year in a row, in engagement scores. And yet everybody's saying, well, yeah, I much prefer virtual work and things of that nature. And all that is being sorted out right now. But the one thing that's consistent across everybody's experience, really, even before the pandemic, is that they've lost this meaningful relationship componentry with their coworkers. And this is so baseline. Even thinking about any experience that you've gone through, a sports team, a musical performing team. I've been in bands as well, Karen. If you don't have meaningful relationships with each other, you can be doing the greatest work that's saving mankind, and that won't matter. So this is a good opportunity, though, when you think about bringing it into corporations or the business environment to say, how might I get back to the most basic things of all about building meaningful relationships with people? I don't even know these people. I have no connection with them at all. They're just a little square on a screen that pops up 3 times a day. And we have to be super intentional about that. I mean, that's one of the things that we're codifying to be able to have conversations with people to unlock this stuff. And you get people with tears in their eyes. I haven't talked about this in so long. I didn't know that about you. This is rich. now I understand the way you're operating that way. I was assuming the worst of you. These are the things that sort of get unlocked with these conversations, and all of a sudden we can pull people together. And that to me is, I love the tactics of it, and it could be done, but it has to be super intentional.
You have inspired a very deep question that I hesitate to drop right now while we have just a couple minutes left. And I know that Ira and Ange also have some things they want to add before we go into our special offers today, which is just, I think, food for thought. What would the corporate world look like if it was driven by purpose and connection? Ira, go ahead.
Yeah, it's so, we can go on forever with that. But literally right before we got on the air with this, I had my podcast and I spoke with Zach Mercurio, and we were talking about mattering at work, and he's actually releasing a new book, and it's about mattering. And I've been following Gallup stuff for years. I mean, that's basically was my business, talking about employee engagement and improving the employee experience. And the reality is that you tried to create the environment, but it still came down to people didn't feel like they mattered. And now we have this crisis where AI is coming in, and I'm a culprit as much as anybody else. And we keep telling people that, in the next, in LinkedIn's report just came out that 25% of our jobs will be automated. And by 2030, 2/3 of our jobs will be automated, and whatever job you're doing will be completely different. Everybody has to reskill and upskill, and people don't. It's like, I'm not going to matter anymore. So the challenge isn't engagement. The challenge is how do you help people feel like they matter, how they feel significant, and how they contribute. And if you want more on that, it's actually, I guess this will turn into the plug. It's actually my podcast is Geek Skeezers and Googlization, and the live episode's out now, and the podcast will be out. But it was just like today, an incredibly fast 50 minutes. But I think it comes down to significance and contribution and helping people feel like they matter, and that's the purpose of purpose. Purpose is to people individually want to feel like they matter, and businesses are really crappy at doing it.
Yeah, it sounds like 25% of us are going to have to figure out how else we matter, for sure. And you had some comments you wanted to add too.
Yeah, I just a 30-second follow-up to all of this. I think, this is a massive topic. I think it's also the baseline of what conscious leadership is, why, many of us that we follow John Mackey or any of the leaders in this that started it. I think for me, it comes down to all of the disparagement between what companies are saying they want. They want engagement. They've got surveys. We do all these fancy words, but at the same time, the reality is that we have not been able to crack that code inside organizations to normalize terms like love, like trauma, like psychological safety. These are words that make the highest levels of organizations, it makes their skin crawl, and they immediately go, and I hate to say it, but even at the highest levels of, people management and CHROs, it's like, we're not going to go there. Here's your EAP program. That's how you kind of deal with the inner stuff, right? But everything we've just talked about today, it's about being the authentic person. So on one hand, we want people to feel engaged and to show up and be productive, whether it's virtual or in person. And yet the reality is, I think there's an openness because of COVID and all the things and AI, and we need to feel connected. We need to matter. We need to have purpose. We need to have all those things. But how do we do that in environments where those same very languages often scare away the senior most leadership of a company? And until we can really normalize that, I think that a lot of this conversation is going to continue to cycle around. And I think that's the job of people like us, to kind of get the message out and normalize that and say, look, we're not turning anybody into a therapist. We're not trying to, deconstruct anybody, but we just have to be aware that it's all part of the human experience at work.
And having these conversations is our effort in normalizing these words and these conversations in the corporate space. Steve, you unmuted, and I wanted to go into promotional. So I'm going to give you a little 30-second spot to go and jump in whatever you wanted to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out for what I thought the answer was to your question. What would it look like if you're in a purpose-driven organization with people committed that way?
Yeah.
It would look like people bringing out the best in each other.
Yeah.
Period. Like that. And that's the most fulfilling thing. We all know we have a certain level of potential, and to be in the conditions that allow that to happen, that's really a wonderful thing. So
That's actually a vision-based question, right? I mean, and that's something that's like the next step. Once you identify your purpose, it's identifying the vision. Yeah, I think I would love to just spend an hour just imagining what that would look like and how that would look and how we would look as individuals and how leaders would look together and what we could accomplish and how many people would just live completely differently in that space. I'm going to start with Ange. I know you are working on some offerings, and I want to give you a chance to talk about them.
Yeah, absolutely. So just working on the tech behind getting out there. But, if anyone's interested, I provide, one-on-one coaching. I've got group programs and an upcoming mastermind that will be coming out the end of Q1. So you can reach out to me, get on the wait list for that. And then lastly, with the partner company, Boss Make Her. So it's bossmakeher.com. Come find me over there. We have an amazing platform for anyone in the corporate space that's looking to kind of do this work as well. And we've got, programs and just support and coaching on a daily basis. And it's an amazing platform. So look out for all of that. And I'm happy to work with anyone that's interested in doing the work.
Thanks, Ange. When that goes out, definitely send a message to C3 and tag me. I'll be happy to share that as well. And I'm going to go next to Amy and save Ira and myself for last. So go ahead, Amy.
Yes, I also provide one-on-one coaching, and I do offer a complimentary Find Your Dream Job, Discover Your Dream Job breakthrough session. So if you're interested in exploring that and in exploring the path of energy transformation to authenticity and purpose, just feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and we can schedule that. And also, I do share my journey of awakening in my book, Awakening Through Anxiety, A Journey to Finding One's True Self. So I'd be happy to share a copy of that book if you reach out directly to me. It's also available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, as well as Audible and other booksellers. So would love to talk about. Yeah.
If you want to drop your LinkedIn profile or however you want people to get in touch with you or your book links, go ahead and do that in the comments. We're happy to help you promote that. Steve.
Yeah, I'd love for people to check out the Search for Meaning at Work if you're interested. A lot of the framing is in there, and including a model that covers 11 different amplifiers of meaning at work that we can use as managers, and also to reflect personally on how each one of those is playing out in your life. How do you have it turned up or turned down? We are working on tactics like crazy. So I would say one of the coolest things you could do is to sample an online workshop that we've created. We have one that's called the Meaning Maker Narrative, which is all about how to give appreciation to people. Talk about mattering, Ira. This is about, being able to do the voiceover for appreciation. We call it Listening Lab, basic stuff, how to listen more effectively and how to build a coaching rich environment that you can have this exchange with people about building on their ideas and showing them that their ideas matter, therefore they matter in the process. So I'll be happy to share that. Steve at amplifymeaning.com. And thanks again for the opportunity to be part of the group.
That all sounds like really exciting. I would love to. Those workshops sound like my cup of tea. That sounds amazing. So if you have any, if you want to share that link in the comments for people, they can then just click on their hyperlink. That'd be great. So Ira and I have come up with a combo package. First, I'm going to let Ira talk about the things that he's included in those packages, and I'll drop the link for that right now. Go ahead, Ira. Talk about the things that you've included in our exclusive C3 bundle.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to be part of this, and thank you everybody especially who are listening. there's two packages there. One is called Passion and Purpose. It's a very short ebook, following up on much of what we talked about today, or as much as you can talk about in a few pages. And then there was a short workbook, and really it's the steps to identify what your purpose is. How do you articulate it? Because I think a lot of people know what their purpose is, but they're either afraid to, or they just can't articulate it. And then the other one is a 5-day challenge, which is a little bit of overlap on it. But if you prefer not to read the book and you just like to get a short email every day and kind of walk through it step by step, it at least gets the ball rolling with that. I put a bunch of links or in the comments, so hopefully people can check that out. And also, what I did forget was on my website, irawolf.com. You'll get one of those annoying pop-ups, but there is a free book. It's called The Change. I'm one of 22 co-authors in it. It was Insights to Self-Empowerment, which is a little bit what we were talking. I talk a lot about growth mindset and the why in the book as well. So, and that's for free. So you can download the book for free. So you can go to irawolf.com and just download it.
Thanks, Ira. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to present an exclusive offer to the people watching this. We haven't decided exactly how long we'll keep this open. I guess 30 days, maybe. Yeah, 30 days. We'll keep this link up for you if you want to. That way, whoever didn't get to watch live has time to get the live stream and catch up on the topics that we covered and our individual approaches, and decide if any of these panelists have a solution that calls to you. The solution that I incorporated into this bundle is that recreation, that reimagined journal that I had published in 2016. That was like 58 pages, and now it's like 287 pages. It's definitely more than a journal. I incorporated a lot of the facets that I've learned from neuroscience into making it something that compels you to pick it up every day. Because what I found with the 30-day journal that I previously published is that the questions are challenging, and it can be hard to stay engaged in a habit that challenges you. That, if you have a hard question, you might just kind of want to ponder it for a while. And I wanted to take that 30-day runway out, because there's no reason in my mind that you have to rush it in 30 days to discover your purpose. But I think that forming the habit of journaling is something that a lot of people struggle with. And so I've incorporated things like green spacing, gamification. There's just, I want it to be beautiful and something that you wanted to pick up. There is a physical version that I did not include in this bundle, simply because it's the fulfillment would take a little bit longer. But you can certainly ask me about the physical copy if you want. You can just message me here on LinkedIn, and I will eventually be promoting that more heavily. But in the meantime, I've included the digital version in this package. And let me see if I can just show you the page real fast. And what I wasn't able to do before this event was to get the payment integration to work, unfortunately. So I was not able to do that. You know what? I'm not having any success doing this either. Hang on. It is here. It is here. It is here. There it is. So this is our dual combination. Ira's offering a very generous 83% discount. And that includes the free 5-day challenge as well. This is the digital journal that I've created. And, if we had more time, I might show you an animated mock-up of that. But in the meantime, since I wasn't able to get payment integration worked out before this, if you just want to give us your name and email, we'll follow up with a payment link and a confirmation for you. So thank you, everybody who was able to make it today. I know we had some folks drop out because we're a little bit over time, but I really appreciate everybody who was here and the very thoughtful additions and comments. And I look forward to a great amount of exchanges in the future about this topic, as well as all the other topics that we like to tackle here in C3. So see you next month.